Hey everyone, happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So let's see what happened today. Minor things on the 63 Beetle. We finished his wheels up and brought them to powder coating, and we had 3 wheels that had broken clips, so we replaced those clips. And then several of them, actually, I think almost all of the 5, so including his spare, had various amounts of like curb rash and stuff on the edges of the rims, and some of them had some bent areas. So pretty much went and metal work all the rims to get the edges looking as good as possible. And then took those over to powder coating. So hopefully we'll get those back maybe mid or later this week, and then we'll paint them. And in the meantime, I need to get this guy his tires on order. Again, we're going to be running 1-inch white walls, so it's going to look really, really pretty when it's all done. So that happened. Another minor thing is his engine detail is finally done. So the last 2 details were the sticker on the air cleaner, and then we can't forget the little decal for adjusting the valves. Just really a cool little touch as far as making the engine correct how it came from the factory. Those little decals make a huge difference. So yeah, really loving how this motor came out, and I think the owner is going to be happy with it because it looks bitchin' and it runs equally bitchin'. So there you go. So that's what happened on this guy today. So Rafa spent pretty much his whole day working on the barn door. So we're just continuing to march along on this thing. One of the first things he did was box of parts here. He finished up the air cleaners. So the air cleaners were a complete disaster for this. And so we had Rafa basically drew up and made a template for the adapters, which will bolt to those SU carburetors on the Monaro intake system that we're going to be putting on here. And then we had Brian Washburn over Washburn Metal cut out these adapters, which is this piece you see here on his CNC, I think it's a CNC plasma table, I think. He cut those out, and then Rafa welded them to the existing bases that we already had and ground the welds down and stuff like that. So these are going to get powder coated semi-gloss black, as are the tops of the air cleaners, which I'm not sure. Oh, here they are. And we're gonna try and reproduce the decal that's on these, because that's a cool touch. So yeah, we've taken some very high quality pictures of these and figure out how to reproduce these stickers. If anyone knows anyone that can do something like that, I don't know. I have no idea where I would get this font, or if anyone has any suggestions for that, please let me know. The rest of the font seems pretty normal. The flag shouldn't be too hard. This where it says Sports Air Cleaner doesn't look like a sort of out of the ordinary font, but this where it says Airflow, I don't know, maybe that is a normal font. But if anyone has any ideas on how to reproduce these stickers, the artwork for these stickers at least, let me know. Otherwise, I'll talk to some other folks I know that do that sort of thing, see if they have any suggestions. But yeah, so the carburetor air cleaners are going to be all semi-gloss black. And then the screens that go between the base and the tops, those were actually chroming. And so it's going to look amazing when it's done. Rafa spent some time on some of these under the front body components as far as like straightening them out. They were a bit beat up. So these, I think these are all going to go off for powder coating. Likewise, this cover here, spent some time straightening it out. It was a bit bent up here and there, so getting it all perfect. And then we'll, again, I think we're powder coating this. And some other things here that he's gone and done various amounts of body work and stuff on. The pedal, all the pedals are here. those are all going to get powder coated. So yeah, gonna look amazing. The other thing that he did then too was spent quite a bit of time under the front of this bus. I barely saw Rafa today because he was pretty much under the front of this bus almost all day. So again, other than those things that he removed, he spent a long time just kind of generally cleaning things up under here. There were areas that hadn't really been painted, or the paint was, not great in some areas. So yeah, he spent a long time under here just cleaning, touching up paint, obviously removing those things that I just showed. So yeah, just lots of details like that. As far as we're concerned, the underside of the car should be as nice as the tops of the car. So that's kind of how he spent most of his day was under here and on the things that go under here, just getting it, looking really nice. So, yeah, that was pretty much Rafa's day. So myself, other than the finishing the wheels up on this and getting them off the powder coating and putting the stickers on the engine, getting it finished up, I worked most of the afternoon, late morning and afternoon on the double cab here. And even though the engine was installed and a lot of stuff was hooked up, there was still a lot of stuff that wasn't hooked up and needed to be routed and so on. So I ran the, as part of the sort of stock wiring harness, there's a wire that come from over here that go various places. So the alternator here, so normally this would have a voltage regulator and this wire would go to that, but in our case it goes directly to the output of the alternator. And then likewise the idiot light here, which again would normally go to the voltage regulator, goes directly on this big beautiful chrome alternator here. So routed those, and also part of the stock wiring harness is right here, and that goes over and provides power to the coil. And then also there's a wire that runs down to about here that is going to hook up to the oil pressure idiot lights switch, which I will have in the morning. So that'll get screwed in and this wire will get plugged into it. So I did those things. The compressor, I actually had it off for most of the day because it was just totally in the way. Because what I needed to do was put on the spark plug wires. And as you can imagine, the spark plug wire on number 3 cylinder, which is the forward one on this side, it's pretty impossible to get at with all the stuff in the way. So compressor was off, these lines I moved out of the way, this fresh air hose I hadn't installed yet. So I got as much stuff out of the way as I could, and then was able to kind of get my arm back in there and get the spark plug wire on for number 3, which again is the forward one on this side. So yeah, spark plug wires are on and routed to the distributor. What else? Yeah, the wiring that I mentioned, the hoses that go to and from the fuel rails on the throttle bodies, those are all connected and tight now. Let's see, what else? I like there was just a lot of things. I had not previously put the clamps on these. They were just sort of on there for test fitting. So these are all clamped on now. At the end of this process, I put this one back on, and with its clamps, got this belt adjusted, added oil to the compressor here. Its hoses were on there before just for sort of fitting purposes. They're actually on there now for good, tightened down with their O-rings, etc. So pretty much everything on this motor now is on for good. At least I hope for good. But yeah, it's all wired and everything. I think that the only thing really left to do is literally put in the oil pressure switch and attach it here. And then put in a battery, and I think we'll be about ready to start this thing here before too long. Not sure if I will get to that this week or not, but I'm not really seeing too much in the way of that at the moment. So yeah, who knows? I may start this thing up later this week, so that's pretty exciting. The other thing that I started working on, which is a little bit annoying, is putting his muffler on, which I had test fitted on the car previously and it fit fine, but now that the motor is bolted in correctly and everything is essentially where it goes, the muffler is basically hitting the chassis here. So there's this mount here, which is part of the chassis that comes down, that the mustache bar, which is this big bar across the rear of the motor here. So I don't know if you can see right there. So this is with me having already trimmed it, and I didn't want to trim more than necessary, so I trimmed it, and it's clearing now, but by like a millimeter, which is not enough. So now I got to go back in and trim it some more because that will definitely hit. So that's not good. So it's hitting there, and it's hitting, let's see if we can see, yeah, it's hitting also right here where the tailpipe is hitting this part of the chassis here, this mount here. And then I think right here, it's probably clear enough right now. I may clearance that some more, but yeah, basically 3 spots that the muffler is hitting. It's kind of annoying, but you know, this is pretty typical of aftermarket and performance things. Is you know, nothing really fits the way that OEM or new old stock parts fit. So but you know, that having been said, this exhaust is made for a bay window bus, so I'm a little miffed that it doesn't really clear the chassis because again, it's supposedly made for this bus. So come on, guys, get it right. This is from A1, by the way. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. This is a custom hot rod of a car, so yeah, sometimes things don't really fit in the way we would hope that they would. But you know, that's where the DA comes in, and we trim things as needed, and you know, we're not losing any strength or anything here, so that's not a big deal. It's just minor annoyance more than anything that something made for this car doesn't fit. But you know, that's kind of my life, how putting these cars together. So but yeah, this motor is pretty much all buttoned up now, other than those couple little things I mentioned. I do need to get a breather here and with a filler on it. I'll probably just get one of those kind of aluminum ones with a big black cap on it. Might have to shorten this hose a little bit so it comes down at a little bit more of an angle here. I think I've got room with the linkage, because this thing is going to kind of come out, and you can see how it's going to be a little tight here. But yeah, little things like that. I'm going to trim this a little bit if needed. And yes, so getting super close on this one. Trying to think what else. Oh, so this car, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not on the Cowlick car. We had some paint issues, of course, on the passenger door, and the passenger door is being worked on currently. But I can show you what happened was the paint shop that we used on the passenger door, they got way too carried away, and the paint between the hinge and the door skin was basically like solid. They sprayed so much paint that this gap, which is supposed to be there, wasn't there. Well, what happens is when you open and close the door, there's a little bit of movement between the hinge and the door skin, and that's kind of why there's a gap there. Well, they had basically sprayed it so thick in there, again, I'm talking about on the passenger side, that this gap was gone. Well, not surprisingly, just opening and closing the door, the paint there cracked, and then that crack kind of propagated up a little ways into you know, the door skin basically. And so that was true on the top and bottom hinge on the passenger side. So I got some paint mixed up and matched, and having my guy who is a complete wizard at blending and stuff like that, he's got the door and he is fixing those paint issues. So again, I'm eating that cost. This is not, my customer already paid for his paint job, and I need it to be really, really nice for him. So no cost to him. You know, probably when all is said and done, $400 or $500 out of my pocket. But you know, again, this just seems to be the nature of paint jobs, especially recently. But again, we're doing all our paint jobs starting, at least as of this car, the 67. All of our paint jobs now are being done in-house. So this kind of nonsense with other paint shops, you know, doing stupid stuff is not something we're going to have anymore. So live and learn. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. So appreciate you watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.